This is a review for the iRobot Roomba J7 and J7 Plus. The J7 Plus comes with a self-empty dustbin and a clean base, while the J7 does not. Otherwise, the two robots are identical. The J7's airflow was measured at 8 CFM. Its suction was measured at 0.07 kPa. This robot has an average-sized direct clean path with a brush hole compartment that measures approximately 6 3/4 inches across the bottom of the robot. The compartment is also uniquely wide from top to bottom, as unlike most other robot vacuums on the market, it houses 2 brush holes instead of 1. The extra brush roll increases surface agitation at the cost of increased surface area over the brush hole compartment, which effectively reduces the overall airflow and suction through the compartment. Largely because of its 2 brush rolls, and despite its low airflow and suction, the J7 picked up all debris types very well in our carpet stress test. Though, just like all of the other robot vacuums we tested, it heavily relies on its side brush to help pull debris into its direct cleaning path and on repeated movement over the same areas to get a proper cleaning in this test over time. In our carpet deep clean test, the J7 picked up 6 grams of debris after 3 passes over an area of carpet embedded with 30 grams of fine debris. In our hard floor stress test, the J7 once again picked up all debris types very well. Here it again relies on its side brush to help pull debris into its direct cleaning path and on repeated movement over the same areas to get a proper cleaning in this test over time. In this test, we also see a special mode activated near the beginning of the robot's cleaning cycle. This mode, called Dirt Detect Mode, should be activated every time the robot senses an abnormally high concentration of debris in its path. In this test, that should happen very consistently, as the whole test area has a high concentration of debris. Indeed, we saw this mode activated very consistently with the i7 and the S9 on both carpet and hard floors. The back and forth movement over the same areas and the blue LEDs on the top of the robot indicate that Dirt Detect Mode is activated. With the J7, we only saw it activated once, here in this one section in this one test on hard floors. It really didn't cause the robot to perform any worse in this test overall, but we did want to note how the activation of this mode wasn't very consistent with the J7. Moving on to edge performance, the J7 once again performed very well. It very effectively pulls debris out of the edge with its side brush as it moves close and parallel to it as part of its regular cleaning pattern. The J7 did not perform well in our robot vacuum crevice test. It also doesn't have any higher suction settings for us to have tried using in this test. It only has one suction setting, its default suction setting. In our human hair pickup test, the J7 picked up all the hair, but most of that hair wasn't pulled into its dustbin. 50 to 70% of the hair it picked up tangled around its brush rolls and had to be cleaned off manually, though it was very easy to pull the hair off of these brush rolls because of their bristleless design. In our pet hair pickup test, the J7 picked up most of the hair, but not without difficulty. It repeatedly ran over certain tufts of hair without picking them up. It also pushed certain tufts around much more than most other robot vacuums we tested. It would eventually pull most of these tufts underneath the robot, but this didn't always mean that it successfully pulled them all the way to its brush hole compartment and up into its dustbin. We found at least a few tufts still stuck underneath the robot away from its brush hole compartment when we flipped it over after the test for inspection. We tested the J7's cleaning efficiency and coverage in 2 different environments, an empty room and a cluttered room. But before we get to those tests, let's first discuss the most unique component of this robot, its front-facing camera. Now, we've seen front-facing cameras before, on the S6 Max V and on the T8 AI VI, but both of these robots only use these cameras for small obstacle detection. They have a laser perch on the top of the robot that is used for general navigation. The J7 is unique in that it only has a camera that does both tasks, small obstacle detection and general navigation. And since cameras can't see in the dark, it also has a light that shines in the same direction the camera is facing to light up its path in dark environments. In our empty room testing, we can see how well this robot navigates in wide open spaces, and here it does fairly well, though it unfortunately exhibits the same behavior we saw with self-emptying versions of the i3, i7, and S9. It fails to get proper coverage in the areas immediately surrounding the clean base. In our clutter room testing, we can see how well the J7 navigates around larger obstacles, and here the results are very disappointing. In this first trial, the robot navigates well enough around the top side of the room, but gets stuck momentarily underneath the chair frame and completely fails to get coverage over the bottom side of the room. In the second and third trial, it does much better, getting reasonably good coverage across most of the room, though it again fails to get coverage in the areas to the left and right of its clean base. In the third trial, it also gets minimal coverage underneath the chair frame. For the fourth trial, we changed the cleaning passes setting from the default of daily clean to room size clean, and for the fifth trial, we changed the same setting to extra clean. On the room size clean setting, the robot completely skips cleaning underneath the chair frame. On the extra clean setting, it gets good redundant coverage, but only over part of the room. It focuses cleaning over the top side of the room and neglects the bottom part, cleaning underneath the chair only once over the full duration of the test. For the sixth trial, we turned the obstacle detection setting off. So far, it had been on for all of the previous trials. And with this setting turned off, the J7 performed much better in this test. It especially performed much better cleaning around the chair frame, getting much better coverage underneath and around this obstacle than it did in any previous trials. Lastly, we removed all of the larger obstacles from the test environment and added several smaller ones, specifically a shoe, sock, power cable, and 2 pet waste props. And here, the J7 performed very well. In this first trial, it pushes the shoe and sock a little bit, but completely avoids both pet waste props. After the trial, we confirmed that certain obstacles in the room were in fact obstacles using the app and reset the position of all of the obstacles. We then started a second trial. In this trial, the J7 once again has a little bit of trouble with the shoe, and its side brush catches the end of one of the pet waste props. The bottom line is that, as was true for the Roborock S6 Max V, the J7's obstacle detection isn't perfect, but it does work, and reasonably well at that. The bigger takeaway, though, is that the J7's obstacle detection appears to have a definite negative impact on its general navigation. You can never have the robot avoid smaller obstacles like pet waste and have the robot navigate efficiently around larger obstacles like chair legs at the same time. You have to choose one or the other with the J7 according to our testing. Other important specifications and test results we considered for this review are summarized here. Note especially that this is a full-fledged mapping robot that has the ability to map multiple floors of your home. And using the iRobot companion app, you can label different parts of the generated map, set the robot to clean specific parts of the map, or set it to stay out of certain parts of the map. In the same chart, also note the J7's runtime, bin volume, and noise output, and how those specifications and test results compare to the average for all of the robot vacuums we've tested so far. Lastly, note the robot's diameter and height. These dimensions make the J7 an average size robot vacuum. Moving on to what we like and dislike about this vacuum, first let's talk about what we like. The J7 picks up debris on both carpet and hard floors very well. It also cleans edges well. Its bristleless brush rolls don't tangle as easily with longer hair, and when hair does tangle around them, it's easy to remove. The J7 small obstacle detection is a great feature and works very well in and of itself. We also really like the J7 Plus's ability to self-empty. Moving on to what we dislike about this vacuum, the J7 struggled picking up tufts of pet hair in our pet hair pickup testing, but most of our complaints lie with its navigation. In our clutter room testing, it sometimes skipped entire sections of the room, and in all of the trials except one, it gave minimal coverage to the area directly underneath and around the chair frame. It only got good redundant coverage underneath the chair frame when we turned obstacle detection off, which is a key feature that you really won't want to turn off. Finally, we have the J7's battery life. Its 100 minutes of runtime is only slightly more than half the 180 minutes of runtime of many of its competitors, like the Roborock S6 Max V and Echovac's T8 AI-VI. In terms of general recommendations, the J7 is not the best robot vacuum we tested, but it's still a better robot vacuum than most other robots we tested. It's also one of very few robot vacuums on the market that are able to self-empty and detect and avoid small obstacles. Both of these features make a big difference in day-to-day use of a robot vacuum, and the J7 being able to do both pushes it almost all the way up our robot vacuum rankings, despite its shortcomings. See the description of this video to see where the J7 stands in our latest rankings and for a complete list of all of the robot vacuums we recommend, and thank you for watching.